Happy New Year to all. Bill Carroll, Zenny62 Media, and time to look at the games this week. So, Colts and Falcons is a very interesting game, and obviously Taylor Heineke is Taylor Heineke. He's capable of getting hot, but he's a guy who's essentially a career backup for a reason. The Colts defense has been trending up, and despite all that, we saw the Falcons hand out a beatdown. And now they're up against a Bears team that has been inconsistent on offense, but is trending upward themselves on defense. And the Falcons were underbound by the market all throughout the season. They had one bad stretch. They went 1-5 in games that are all decided by 5 points or fewer. They have a chance to win the NFC South. I think they're going to play really, really well. And Heineke is number 15 in terms of adjusted EPA per play. So he's better than Ritter in terms of efficiency. He's a more efficient quarterback. But they're still undervalued. I still think that people don't see that team as being as good a team as it is. I think that they are going to win, and they're going to win by at least 4 points, and the line is 2.5. So give me the Falcons, and I'll take them even with the spread being at 2.5. The Saints also are they're getting 2.5 versus the Buccaneers, and Tampa Bay, of course, had a 1-6 stretch themselves, but now has 4 straight victories, and they're now right in sort of a sweet spot. But they did beat the Panthers by 3 at home. The Falcons on a last-second touchdown. The Jaguars, who of course are, a very troubled franchise at the moment. The Packers, whose defense has been collapsing for whatever reason. Baker Mayfield has exceeded most people's expectations. I'm sort of proud of myself. I kept telling people I predicted preseason he'd be the comeback player of the year. Looks like maybe Joe Flacco will pull that from him late. But he's played well. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Despite, being a guy that occasionally puts the ball in jeopardy, he doesn't do it as much as he used to. The Buccaneers also have had a fair amount of luck, quite frankly. And they are doing better on late downs. They're 12th in EPA per play, which is hard to sustain and less predictive. They also have the good fortune in terms of fumbles. They've only lost 6 of their 18 fumbles. And they've done well in 4th down and red zone defense. The Saints are 31st in some places and some things. Like, they're a team that's sort of snake bit. But they are 28, 7-2 against the spread over the last 6 years, including 16, 1-1 against the spread on the road. Tampa Bay does not run the ball efficiently. They run it a fair amount. They give the ball to Rachaad White, but they're 27th in rush DVOA. And I just like the Saints. Maybe not to win this game outright, but it's 2.5 points. I could see them losing this by 2 or 1. Baker Mayfield, as a favorite, is 13-25 against the spread. His career failing to cover 2.9 on average. So I'm going to go with the Saints in an absolute nail biter. I think they win this game by, if they either win it outright or lose by 1. And once again, I think that these are two very evenly matched teams. Jumping really quick to the AFC side, the Bills. Bills are riding high. They're giving 13 points to a wounded, I guess you might say, Patriots team. Joe Brady has done a really good job. And they're going up against a Patriots team that's second against the run, but 17th against the pass, in terms of DVOA ranking. Bailey Zappi is going to be facing a Buffalo defense that's trending in the right direction. They've made some schematic adjustments, but also have acquired Rasul Douglas, who is a steady professional. I think Daquan Jones is coming back from injury as well. He was a full practice. Micah Hyde is returning at safety. I feel like they have a chance to do really well. I normally shy away from really big point spreads, because especially in divisional games, historically, over the time that we have data, 45% of the time they do not cover. But I'm making an exception. I think they win this by 2 touchdowns. So, though it makes me nervous, makes me scared, that big number, I'm going to go ahead and swallow all that. Now the game that everybody's talking about, obviously, is Miami. You know what? I'm going to save that. I'm going to start with, keep going. I'm going to go to Arizona and Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia, of course, is a team that's had some ups and downs, but they're going back home to Lincoln Financial Field for the second straight week. They're going to take on a Cardinals team that was just in Chicago, flew back to Arizona, has to fly back across country to Philadelphia. It's a bad spot for the Cardinals. I do think that Philadelphia leaves the door open maybe for a backdoor cover, but the line's 9.5, which is, once again, anything close to double digits scares me. Uh, I believe that Philadelphia wins this game, but I could see them winning it 31-23, and that would not be a cover. So I think they win, but I'm going to say they don't cover. And the Panthers and Jaguars, that's an interesting one, right? I just have a strong feeling that the Panthers play better than they have recently. I have the Jaguars winning, but just by a touchdown. The line is 8, so that's not a cover. And I think the Rams do cover against the Giants. I think the Rams are trending in the right direction. I think, that the Giants are essentially, I won't say they're in free fall, but it doesn't look good. They're allowing 4.7 yards per carry this season. And here comes Kyron Williams, who I think is going to go off. I wouldn't be shocked if Williams had 134 yards from scrimmage in this game. So that's a cover and a win. Then Las Vegas Raiders versus the Colts. Fascinating game. Fascinating game. Fascinating game. This could go either way. I think that the line currently is 3.5. I think the Colts may win this game, but I don't think they cover. So I'm going to say the Raiders because 3.5 just seems like too much for me, and I wouldn't be shocked if the underdog won this game straight up. And moving on down the line, I talked a little bit about teams, essentially trending, right? Going in a direction that scares you sometimes. Well, the Washington Commanders are, headed in all the wrong directions in a bunch of different ways. But Jacoby Brissett, and of course, right, Wolfpack Tar Heel, right? I grew up in Chapel, well, not grew up, but I spent about 2.5 years of my life in Chapel, North Carolina as a child. So, but I can admit that clearly the NC State quarterback has outplayed the Carolina quarterback so far. And plus, Howell's just been beaten so badly. I mean, he's taken so many hits this year. And he may still be the future of that franchise. But Brissett has endured 5 straight TD drives. And they nearly beat the Jets, who are a terrific defense. The 49ers will be angry, but Washington will be able to stay within 2 touchdowns. I just don't see them winning that by 13.5. I think it ends up being a slightly closer game than people expect, particularly if they get out early and take their foot off the gas, which I think does happen. Brissett leads them back. They get maybe 10 to 14 late points to turn what looks like a blowout into a closer game and maybe lose by 10 or 11 points. But 49ers win, but just not by 13.5. Tennessee Titans versus Houston Texans, another interesting game. The Texans are favored by 4.5, and they get back, of course, their talented young quarterback, Coleridge Bernard Stroud Jr. I think the Titans make this game really interesting. Will Levis, of course, is talented, but an up and down player. The Texans beat the Titans 2 weeks ago with Keenum, but it was close. This game stays close as well. I think it ends up being a 4-point game, which denies them a cover. So the Titans, by half a point, by the hook, deny them that cover. Steelers versus Seahawks. Is there a quarterback controversy for the Steelers? I mean, the Seahawks are giving Pittsburgh 3.5. I think that's too many. I think they may win this game, but not by 3.5. So I'm going to go with the Steelers. The over/under is 40.5. I'm going to take the over. I think this game turns out to be slightly more offensive than people think. And, Rudolph is going to get a chance to show whether or not there should be a quote-unquote controversy at the quarterback position. Bengals and Chiefs, 50.5, which is a big number. Is the over/under? I think despite how big it is, I'm going to take the over, but just barely. I think this game ends up being a 51-point game. I think the Chiefs finally start to look like they should. Now, Patrick Mahomes is only averaging 262.5 yards per pass, which is the lowest of his career. Lowest yards per attempt at 6.9. But I think that, and plus 3 career losses to the Bengals. which is tied for the most against any single opponent. But they're allowing 6.1 yards per play. The Bengals defense has really looked moribund of late, and they allowed the Steelers to pass for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns on them. I can't see the Chiefs doing less than that. So Chiefs, and I'll take the over. I'm going to take the Broncos versus the Chargers. Well, I mean, the Jarrett Stidham thing, I don't know. I like Jarrett Stidham, actually. He's a kid with good size, strong arm, and he can move. But I think they're going to run the ball. And that's really the decision of how this game turns out, is just how it is they run the ball. But I do think they win. I even think they cover. Also, I'm going to take the over. 37.5 seems low for me on that game. And then another, exciting game Sunday night is Packers Vikings, and I have a feeling the Vikings are giving two. I won't be shocked if the Packers win this game outright, and I'm going to take the Packers and pulling the upset there. And then I'll finish up. Oh, and over under. Let's see, and I'll see if I missed any other over unders before I go. The over-under on this one is 43.5. I'll take the under. And then on the other games, I will make sure I didn't miss any others. I will take the under also on Titans and Texans. I will take the under on San Francisco and Washington, which is 48.5. I will take the over on the Saints and Buccaneers. I will take I'll take the over, but just barely on the Patriots and Bills. I will take that's probably right about the number. I'll take the under on Miami and the Ravens. That game is a little more defensive than people are expecting. I will take the under, but just barely on Raiders and Colts. I think that game ends up being a 43-point game, which just misses the hook. I'll take the over on Rams Giants. I will take I'll take the over, but just barely. I think it's 23-17, so that's 40. So just barely over on Panthers and Jaguars. I will take the over, just barely once again. I think it's like 21-17 maybe, or 24-17, so that's an over for the Falcons Bears. I will take the under on Cardinals Eagles, Battle of the Birds, and the featured game of the week, which is Ravens versus Dolphins. That's an exciting game. That's the game everyone's looking forward to, and for good reason. 46.5. I'm going to take the under, like I said. The Ravens are giving 3. I think they cover just barely. I think they get to 4. I think it's a really good game, and I think that their defense helps pull them out towards the end. And if you've been tracking my predictions, I've been up and down, but it's been an up and down season. I'm hoping this is a good week for me. I hope it's a great week for you, whether you take my advice or not. And once again, Happy New Year to everyone.